Alright guys, so in the wake of Black Panther, there's been a lot of like different people's opinions flying in, flying out, you know, controversy, this, that and the third, people versus people about it, this whole white versus black thing. Well, I just want to talk about what Black Panther means to me and what it means to a lot of my friends. So it's kind of like an esoteric subjective kind of opinion from a few people and from people around me. So it's just my point of view on it. I think what people need to understand is Black Panther is like the first huge mainstream comic book character in a Hollywood movie that's a black guy, except for Blade. And Blade was fit more into the horror genre. Horror action, it was got that vampire type stuff. It wasn't for everyone. Whereas Black Panther is for everyone. It's for children, it's for old people, it's for medium-aged people, you know, it's for people who work, it's for people who own companies, it's for people that, you know, are unemployed, it's for everyone, it's for absolutely everyone. As a black person, that film makes you kind of proud of your own culture, because a lot of films convey black people as slaves, as poor, as underdeveloped, idiots. You know, there's a lot of different stereotypes that we go through, you know, being very ghetto, being criminals. Basically, we're criminalized a lot. So to see a nation of black people coinciding, working together, you know, being adjacent and allowing each other to work, you know, and having their own society that is far more advanced than our world. For a lot of people, it was a big thing. Now, I'm a comic book fan. I already knew about Wakanda. I already know about Panther, but nothing is like seeing it in a movie. Nothing's like that. Nothing's like it being manifested by human actors. You know, nothing's like them having real faces. Nothing's like seeing them move. And so what it meant for a lot of people was it signified that, you know, black people are great people. And here's the thing about that. People forget there was a time where, you know, black people had civilizations. People forget that, you know, for the most part, the black person has been the original man in terms of, if we're looking back at like human beings. So it's in this modern day where it's been basically beaten out of black people, or kind of like convinced out of us. You know, we've been convinced that we are nothing in the modern world by by what's happened with slavery, by the images we're shown of Africa, by how we're conveyed in the media. For the most part, we've been shown that we are kind of like second-class citizens. And we should just be real. You know, slavery wasn't that long ago. You know, a lot of these racial things that went on, apartheid and stuff, wasn't that long ago. You know, we're talking about lifetimes here. We're talking about, you know, these things were happening when my grandfather was around, you know, in his youth, and that he's still alive. So a lot of these things kind of, it weren't that long ago. Apartheid I'm talking about. Slavery was a while ago, but it wasn't that long ago when you do the math. It was like 2 lifetimes ago. That's not that long ago. So what this movie did was help us kind of come forward and look at ourselves in a positive light. Now, here's the thing about the film, yeah? It also gave us another look at things. It gave us Martin Luther King versus Malcolm X, with Killmonger being Malcolm X, the more extreme one, but at the same time, I don't think that's absolutely true. And Black Panther kind of being Martin Luther King, but not really, because Martin Luther King wouldn't have fought anyone anyway, physically. So, you know, it's kind of we're looking at two sides of the coin. So the film was deep. It did follow that Marvel method. It was very kind of standard of how Marvel movies work, but it had deep messages in it. It had depth to it. And it also, it picked up the black audience. That's why it's selling so well. That's why it's doing so crazy. That's why it's doing gangbuster numbers, because it's just, it's given us something, you know. Because as black people, you don't usually get characters that really are for us. You know, let's think about Falcon. Falcon's not the most spectacular character in the Marvel universe, is he? You know, he's Falcon. Yeah, in the comic books, he's Captain America and he's really cool. And I can admit that. But in the movies, he's not really Captain America yet. He's still just Falcon. You know, he's not very spectacular. He's like one of the weakest characters on the roster. Then Black Panther comes along and he's just like, you know, he's kind of like our version of Batman. You know, he's kind of Batman in a sense. He kind of even looks a little bit like Batman, except his mouth's covered. But he, you know, he's possibly more badass than Batman. You know, because he's kind of got this future tech. You know, and he's got these extra powers, and he's very cool. And that's something. There was a lot of deep mysticism in the film. There was, you know, there was kind of, the film was trying to show us, like, you know, there's elements to your culture that are deep, that don't really have, you know, don't really exist in the Western culture. You know, and that's not an indictment to anyone. And this is what I'm saying. Everything I'm saying, I'm not trying to indict anyone. I'm not trying to disrespect white culture or any other culture. I'm just trying to say, or even Western culture, I'm just trying to say they are different cultures. And this film made us feel like we were aware of our culture. This film made us kind of respect our culture a little bit more. As I said, I'm a comic book fan. I knew kind of what I was expecting going in. But for a lot of people that didn't have that same expectation, it lifted them up, you know. And I've had emails from friends, I've had people call me, I've had people message me that we don't talk, but we know each other, we don't talk often. I've had Facebook messages from people just saying, yo, have you seen Panther? I've gone to restaurants and I've said, call to the security guard, and he's gone like this. And then I've done it back, and, you know, and I've said, Black Panther, yeah? You know, so it's like there's aspects of this film that have carried, that walk with us now. And it's something that doesn't happen very often. And I'm not trying to say that it happens for white people all the time, because I'm absolutely sure it doesn't. But this is one of those phenomenons. It's something that's, I feel like it's enriched our culture, because we have a little piece of that big business that is comic book films, that is basically the biggest film business right now. We have a big part of that right now. We have, even though it's Marvel, because I'm a DC guy, and DC seems to be failing with the movies. Even though it's Marvel, we have a big part of that. We have a huge part of that, you know, and we have something that we can say, yeah, this is us. And that's where I am with it. You know, I think the film itself was definitely done well. Killmonger stole the show for me. In Captain America Civil War, Black Panther stole the show for me in that movie. I thought it would have had more gadgets. This ain't a film review anyway, but that's what the film means. The film means we feel like we have a place now, you know, within this pantheon of characters, and we feel like we could be superheroes now because we've seen it properly. Blade is not really a superhero. He's a vampire. You know, he kind of fits into it, but he's more of a vampire. He's not a character you're going to see on the Avengers, you know, in the comic books or in the films. He's not, you know, you're probably not really going to see him in any of the cartoons. So it's kind of like a toss-up of like Black Panther. You know, you got Black Panther, you got Luke Cage, you got the character called Blue Marvel in the comics, who's really cool, but he's kind of too much like Superman to use in a film, I imagine. But yeah, guys, end of the day, when I look at Black Panther for what it was, it seemed to really big up black culture, you know, and make us feel more secure. Because let's be real, if you really look at what's happened to us over history, and you look at the dysfunction in our neighborhoods, and you look at a lot of the societal things that have happened to us, we essentially have been unstable in our mentalities a lot of the time. We have been insecure with our position. Where are we supposed to stand? What side are we supposed to be on? How are we supposed to feel? We've had a lot of angst. If you listen to a lot of rap music, there's a lot of angst in it. You know, there's a lot of things we have to go through. There's a lot of adversity we've had to face. And funnily enough, the adversity we've had to face is because we've been criminalized. And we've been criminalized after we've been oppressed. We've been oppressed for hundreds of years and then we've been criminalized. I am from Caribbean descent, which means that my people were taken from whichever part of Africa, probably Ghana, put in the Caribbean and enslaved for generations, and I am the product of that. What kind of like insecurity would build up from that happening to generations of people? What kind of angst when they finally get to somewhere like the UK? So to have something like this, it helps, even though it might have not been its intention, and it might well have been. It helps build some kind of emotional security in that we are quite valuable, we are smart, we are capable of great things. This film kind of highlighted certain things, and yeah, there was kind of parts in the film where they called white people colonizer and stuff like that, but I actually found that quite funny because, you know, there's a lot of films where a black guy gets called a nigger a lot by a white person or whatever. So to call someone colonizer, I don't think it's that deep personally. I think you have to give as good as you get, and you have to take both. You know, at least they didn't call him a cracker, no disrespect, but, and that's how I look at it, yeah, you know. And they were colonizing for a while, so, you know. But anyway, guys, that's my stance on it. It's kind of it's more to be celebrated, you know. There's a lot of stupid stuff going on Twitter, and people getting angry, and people disrespecting white people and all that stupid stuff. I can't entertain that. But what I will say is this: show love, because the movie kind of highlights black people in a good light. And that's all I really got to say on it. And it makes us feel good. I have been Fiji. This is what I think and I feel. Please like and subscribe. Share if you want to. And I'll be back in the next one. Peace.